Okay, good deal. Sounds like a spa. I'm trying to put y'all to sleep. Here, I'll turn it up just a little bit. Let's see. No, it didn't really go up anymore. That's okay. So yeah, I just want to kind of show where we're at in the market. A lot of people are still thinking we're going down. I don't think so. I mean, it could dip a little bit. We'll see. I was checking out this DXY chart today and was really surprised by what I saw. There's a lot of resistance here. I posted this just a little while ago. But we've got resistance here along this line, the horizontal, plus we've got the kind of this downward trend line resistance as well. And then we see this kind of a rising wedge. Really, it should be more like this. It's a rising wedge, and anytime we see those, like if we go in here and we type rising wedge, find a good one here. Yeah, here's a good one. Typically, it's going to come out the bottom once it hits that upper resistance. And so that's kind of what we're seeing. It's just bouncing again. I mean, we know that whenever this happens here, and all this was support previously, anytime it tries to break back through it in the future, it's typically going to have a lot of trouble and, you know, come back down, might bounce around a little bit and go sideways. And then down here, if we look at RSI, you know, we've got two different, we got the RSI and MACD both showing that we're in a bearish divergence. So this looks bullish, this looks bearish. Even though this is a lagging indicator on both of these, it can still be used to dictate what could happen in the future. And one thing I really like to watch, and I'll show you here in a minute how it worked real well on Electronium yesterday, this 50 RSI line right in the middle, the median line for, we're on 12-hour RSI on the DXY. So as long as we stay below this line here, and it just keeps pushing it down, once it breaks below the 50, you usually get a really deep crash down. And that would actually be good for us because we want the dollar index to go down, because typically that makes Bitcoin go up. And yeah, I'll definitely take a look at, what is it, DGB, ZIL, ADA? Yeah, I'll take a look at those here in just a second. I just kind of wanted to give y'all an overall scope of the way I see things right now. There's very few people that are bullish. You can go on Twitter, there's a few notable people that are bullish right now, but the majority are bearish right now. And you have to be careful with that, because some of these people, we're seeing that it has become public knowledge that they're being paid to shill certain things or scare people out of the market. You know, right now, I'll show you some things here on Glassnode here in a minute that are proving to us that the bulls, you know, the big whales are actually buying things right now, and it's retail that's causing the price to stay suppressed. So they always buy when things are at the very lowest, and then they FUD when things are at the very lowest, because they want people to get out of the market. And then once that happens, once enough people are out of the market, some retail will come back in and they'll push it back up. So we know the whales are accumulating right now. I'll show you that here in a second. We like to look at this every once in a while. The fear level is real high. So whenever this is low, that means the fear is high. If you go back up here and look, a level of 15 is extreme fear. And anytime we see it down here, it always comes off of this bottom. I mean, it dipped down, what is this, 11? It got a little bit lower than this at one time, but if it were me and I had money that I wanted to put in, I would be buying right now, regardless if it went down further. Like, let's look at Bitcoin real quick. I had a level marked here at one time. It went away. Maybe it's on the daily chart. No. So there was kind of a buy area that I had right here. So anytime it comes down to this bottom wick area, or to these candle bodies at the bottom of these candle bodies here. That was kind of the buy zone. You would definitely want to be buying in here. And you can see the RSI came down and it had a double bottom. And the MACD is kind of rolling over right now. So we could have a little bit more of a dip soon. We'll see what happens with it. But I really don't expect, what level this is? Yeah, around the 28K level, I don't expect it to break below that. They're just creating mass fear right now. What else can we look at? Yeah, you can see Bitcoin dominance is starting to rise a little bit, so that's good for Bitcoin. And then if we look at the altcoin market cap, it's just kind of going sideways right now. It's had its double bottom. It may have a triple bottom when it's all said and done. But you can see that these just don't have much more room to go down. They could go sideways, but they don't have a lot more room to go down. And then I'll also show you what happened yesterday. This is something I like to highlight, to revisit we've gone over the RSI strategy, how to buy and how to sell using RSI. This is a really good example that happened yesterday. I don't know how many of you here are members with our group, Parabolic Investments, but we gave this to our members yesterday and said, if Electroneum breaks over this 50 line for RSI, you want to watch for that because that's a good point to buy. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, it was yesterday. And so today it just took off. This isn't going to happen every time. I mean, to be honest, it was just very good timing. We were fortunate to call it at that point, but it did happen. If it would have bounced off that 50 line and came back down, then of course you wouldn't have wanted to get in. You want to see that breakout. So on a daily, that's extremely powerful. So yeah, it just turned out to be a good play. So let's see, what are we looking at here? Let's look at DGB real quick. That was a request in the chat. I know I have that on my list. There it is. Yeah, so DGB, this is a daily chart. Actually, let's start on the 3-day chart. Here's a real good example of how you want to be dollar cost averaging in if you do have money to put into something right now. A lot of us are still holding on from the dip, and that's fine. But if you have some money and you want to get in something right now, here's a really good example. DGB has a lot of support way back here in this zone. It could come down a little bit more. What are we at? 0.37. I would say 3 cents would be the rock bottom for this one. I don't see it going any lower than that. A whole lot of support. And then you can see things like RSI and MACD. MACD is curling up. I mean, look at this right here. That's a clear trend up. I mean, this is still curling, but you got money flowing back in to the coin at this point. I've got one more indicator that I use. It's called, a lot of you know Crypto Face. This one is what does he call this thing? I forget what he calls it, but this thing has a deal where he combined RSI and MACD together and stochastic, so you can see everything at once. And so back here you saw a lot of negative money flow. That's what this red area is. But then once it reached this point, here's the money flow coming back in. It went down, money flow coming back in, and now you've got this bottom that it's creating. See, anytime it's at this bottom, that was a good time to buy this bottom line. So we're kind of near that again. And RSI is all the way down like we're seeing here. I don't like using this as much because it's kind of confusing. RSI and MACD, everyone understands a lot more clearly. So right now we're bearish for sure. I mean, we're under the 50 line. I mean, in basic terms, if you want to just say, I'm buying down here, I'm watching to see what happens here. If it bounces back down off of it, I'm selling. But if it crosses through it, I'm waiting till it comes up here. And then I'll see what happens at this top line, which is basically the overbought line up here. I mean, you can see it respected it a couple of times here, and then it bounced back down. But the time that you really want to be in a coin is when it breaks above it, because that's when things get extremely bullish. And you can see here it broke. And yeah, it came back down here. But if you were a long-term holder, you would have just waited until you saw something like this. And it's kind of going down there. But here you're definitely getting some bearish divergence. It's hard to catch the tops though. You really need to be paying attention. I mean, this is a very long-term chart. You'd want to go down. One thing I would say is if you're learning how to read charts, always start at a very long time frame, even a monthly if you've got a coin with a lot of history, and then work your way down. So we saw at the 3-day, if you were here at the top, you saw some bearish divergence there. Okay, we go down to the daily and see what's happening there. And at this same top, you would have seen this. You know, there's a lot of bearish divergence there, and then it broke the 50 RSI there. So that would have been your point to sell if you didn't sell up here. But really what you should be doing is taking profits on the way up anyway. That's a strategy we're using with our group now. We want to make sure that people take profits and always have money on the side so that if you do have a good opportunity like this, you can take advantage of it. And you can always go down to the 4-hour if you want to get an even closer look. We can see it's getting real close to that 50 RSI, so there's a good chance we could see DGB take off. You know, maybe not 100% move like Electronium, but it could do it. We'll just have to see what happens once it gets back up here, because it is bouncing off of it a few times. But I feel real confident in this coin. I hold a lot of it. It's one of my favorite projects. That's something I want to get into soon, is talking about fundamentals of coins. Let me read the chat here. Yeah, we'll look at XRP here in just a second. So we'll just take a look at ZIL, and what I want to do, I'm going to try to get through as many coins as I can. What I want to do is just show you my process so that if you want to start using these methods, you can. Where's my ZIL at? There it is. Okay, let's start at 3-day on this one. Yeah, we're kind of, it's kind of starting to curl up. You can see it's behind DGB as far as its development. You know, it's not curling up quite as much on MACD, but the RSI is very low. I don't really see ZIL coming down. I mean, it's kind of hit a point where it's reaching a lot of support here. There's a lot of support over here in this left shoulder. Could it come down to here? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we talk about things that are possible or probable. Is it probable for it to come down here? To me, no. Is it possible? Yeah, for sure. But if it did, that would be its last stop. You know, 3 cents or so. And then you go to daily. We're very low on RSI. So we're bearish. And that's okay, but this is a good buying opportunity. Let's see what's happening here on the 4-hour. Yeah, it's just kind of grinding here. I suspect that it could go sideways a little bit longer, but let's see what MACD is doing. Yeah, I think it finds support here and it starts pushing back up, but it's going to take a little bit longer. It's one I wouldn't consider, you know, being ready to go. So we'll see what happens with it. Let's look at ADA, and I'll get to XRP right after this one. Okay, we'll start at the 3-day. Yeah, ADA, it's a little bit, it's hard to say what it's doing. This is another one I hold a lot of. Let's see what MACD has here. So on a 3-day perspective, what I'm watching for is to see, let me zoom that in. I want to see if this MACD support holds, like if it bounces off of here and comes back up. One thing to look at, by the way, let's go to the daily real quick. One thing to look at is some of these have a long consolidation period. Yeah, it's 140 days. So even though ADA had a pretty good move up, I forget how much that was. Was it a 5x? Oh, it was a 10x, okay. So even though it had a big move up, it's also been consolidating for a while, because if you look at this consolidation, the move up after that was, yeah, it's like a 100% move roughly. So it really wasn't that big of a move after all this consolidation. So I'm suspecting, I mean, you can see all of this over here that was resistance is now support. You got all this area is now supporting what's going on over here. So it's got a lot to work through there if it was to fall down. And that's why I don't think it will. I think we find support here, maybe go sideways a little bit longer, and then we head up. So we need to keep an eye on it. You know, it's just really hard to say what it's doing right now, but we can see it's definitely bearish. I mean, there's your line showing that we're bearish still. So what I would suspect is it's going to come down here to the oversold line at the very bottom of RSI, and then we'll probably get a bounce, some sideways, and then go up. I really don't feel like it's that far from moving. It looks pretty good to me, but this is definitely one we want to keep an eye on just to see what it's doing. I'm not selling it, that's for sure. I'm going to keep holding on to it. Here's the 4 hour. You know, we're bouncing along the oversold line. So it's a good buying opportunity short term at the very least. I imagine we'll get some kind of bounce soon. XRP. Yeah, we'll take a look at those soon, Adam. TFUEL and Hex. Okay. So here's XRP. It's got a lot of history, so we could actually look at the monthly on this one if we wanted to. Well, we'll go to the weekly. Okay, so the weekly is definitely bearish. You know, we came off that top, and all the indicators are pointing down. So not a whole lot to look at here. I mean, we could say that this might be a bottom for the MACD. We don't know yet. If I was looking at this chart and trying to figure out what it's doing on a long-term time frame, I would know for a fact that it's not done yet. You know, people talk about XRP going to 20 cents. I can tell you why they think that. It's because of this line right here. They see all this support down here at the very bottom. Was it right in here? Well, it's 29 cents. Actually, I take that back. I don't see how they see that at all. This would be my last line. Like if I was setting up, here's kind of what it would look like if I was setting up buy orders for this. I know some people have a question about that. So here's my final line for buy orders if I'm doing it, 30 cents. Here's another line. What is that? 47. And it's interesting because look where these wicks are ending up. I mean, they're nailing these lines exactly. So these are key areas of support for this most recent dip that it did a month or two ago. And then actually where it is right now is another place I'd be buying. So let's say you've got some money on the side. XRP is a coin that you're really looking at. It's something you want. You know, set maybe, you know, well, just go ahead and buy some now. You know, get 30% of what you're wanting to purchase with now. Set another 30% buy at about 47 cents, and set another, well, the remainder, what would that be? 40% of your purchasing power would go around 30 to 31 cents. And even though I'm saying that, I'm still bullish. I mean, long term, I'm bullish on this. This is just short term. If you want to add to your position, I hold XRP. I like the coin. I like the project. SEC thing is just FUD. You know, if you have any worries about this coin at all, don't. It's going to go up. And targets on that, which I haven't really talked about targets, I know. Well, we're going back up to the $2 area for sure. And then after that, we're looking at, well, I would just look at it this way. We're going $2, then we're going $3.50. You know, these are the previous like swing high points. And this was back in, well, yeah, this was the all-time high right here. So we're going to break this. We're going to break the all-time high. And then targets after that, we're looking at, you know, $8 to $10. And I suspect by 2022 will be even higher than that. But all these coins, you know, the ones I've talked about so far, ADA, ZIL, DGB, XRP, I like all the projects, and I hold pretty much all of those, and then some. Let's see, 3-day. Yeah, here we go. So 3-day, we're seeing a curl up here. That's good. So it means we're finding our bottom for now anyway. And then daily, yeah, we're actually showing we haven't quite shown it yet, but we could say, yeah, there's probably going to be some bullish divergence there soon because we're seeing it here on the MACD. So sometimes these signals can precede price action. Typically they are lagging indicators, but sometimes you can see something in them where you're getting people buying at the very bottom, and it's not quite showing in the price yet. It's just people, it's doing a consolidation phase where people are reaccumulating that may be sold near the top, and then all of your weak hands down here are pretty much gone. So there's nothing for it to do but go up. What are we looking at here? Yeah, just kind of going sideways here. There's not a whole lot to see on a 4-hour chart, but that's okay. One thing I would recommend is unless you're extremely experienced, and even I don't do it, I would stick to a daily chart or longer. And the reason for that is when you get into 4-hour charts, it can throw you off too much. There's just too much choppiness, and it'll scare you out of your position, or just the more you go in and out of your position, the more money you're going to lose, in my opinion. So stick to daily or higher charts. Daily is just a great one because you can treat it as a swing trade, which basically I'm just saying you can trade on a week to 2 week period and try to get like a 20-30% profit and then get out and wait for it to dip again. Or you can still use the daily chart for a longer hold, like maybe 1, 2, 3 month or even a year. So that's the way I approach things like XRP, is I want to hold them longer. They just, it's too choppy and there's too much FUD, and the people that hold a lot of XRP are able to manipulate it more, and that's really the case for a lot of coins like Bitcoin. These institutions and these big whales, they have accumulated so much of it over time, like Michael Saylor. If they wanted to manipulate it and get you out of your position, especially if you're leveraged, they could do that very easily. So I used to do leverage. I don't do it anymore, and I would definitely tell everybody, unless you just got money to burn and you're okay with losing all that money, I would stay away from leveraging. I just don't recommend it. Let's see, so TFUEL was the next one. Yeah, TFUEL is an interesting one because we called this one in our group, Parabolic Investments, which a lot of y'all know it already, but some of y'all are members. I'll post the links and stuff if anybody's interested in it later. But this one we called, I want to say it was around this. Yeah, so this arrow right here is where I called it on my trading view. Let's see if it'll pop up here. Yeah. So I called this at one time when it was about to break this downtrend line, and then it broke above, and we didn't really call an exit on it because TFUEL is such an interesting project, just like Theta, where you can stake it, and one day I'm going to do a video on that so that everybody can, there's plenty of videos out there, but I'll do one myself just to kind of give my opinions on it and how good of a project I feel it is and where it's going. But what I did is I bought at this area and then I staked it. So this is a long-term play for me, but let's just look if we wanted to get out of this one. Like if we bought at that area, how would we have known to get out? If we're looking here on the daily chart, we can see it got above here, it got into the overbought area. And typically I would wait for something like a 95 RSI up here to sell. But if you would have seen something like this where it came back down and broke back down through, and it was doing one of these and then it broke through that 50 RSI down here, went bearish again, you could have sold in this area. But see, that would have just been a break even. And that's why I didn't mess with it. I just kept it for long term because it's going back up. I mean, you can see here on the daily, it's crossed through the oversold line, and we're not quite there, but MACD is going to start curling back up soon. So if I was looking at this and wanted to stake it or wanted to buy to hold long term, I would say right now is a very good time to buy. And I actually told our members that just a few days ago, or actually yesterday. We see the same thing in the 4-hour. It's down here, it's curling up on the MACD. And I hope y'all can see this okay. It kind of looks small on my screen maybe. But yeah, I like TFUEL. Good project. Theta's a good project. They've got some big partnerships. Let's look at Hex. Hex is one I've never really looked at. Let me bring that up. I have a friend that tells me about it all the time, and he actually got in down here before the big move. Let's look at daily first. Yeah, really bullish. I would say, what is that move? Yeah, it's not that big of a move, 140%. It could have some more momentum left. It gets hard when you're trying to figure out tops, but on a daily perspective, was that 86? The highest it's ever gone on RSI is 92. So there's a chance that you may start seeing something like this, where it starts pushing it back down towards this line. But if you're holding Hex, well, first off, I would recommend not buying it right now, because you never want to buy anything when it's already gone up. It could keep going up, we don't know. But if you're holding it, I would say it's okay to continue to hold, because from this perspective on the daily chart anyway, it hasn't come back down and retested this line. So if you're watching this one, and if you want to buy it, I mean, this would be the point to buy. I would wait until it came back down here. Let's see if it bounces off this 70 line for RSI, and if it does, then that would be a good point to buy. But if it breaks back down through it, then the next area you want to watch for is the 50 RSI. And you could even, I mean, I know this is kind of counterintuitive. I haven't really gone over it to see if it works just yet. But if you want to talk about support resistance lines and RSI, using it as a support and resistance idea, you could draw this line, and you could say, okay, if it comes down to this line, let's see if it bounces off of it, and then if it doesn't and it goes back through, then that's where you would have wanted to sell, if it breaks back through this line. So that's just an idea on Hex. I mean, I don't hold any of it. This is the first time I've actually looked at the chart for it, but that gives you an idea on what to look for in the future. And I'm sure you're starting to see that these lines are very important for RSI, and it's one of the things that I use the most to find these tops and bottoms and get an idea where things are going. The 4 hour is very bullish too, but you're getting this cross on MACD where it's going down a little bit. So I would say, I would definitely watch this one close if you hold it. If it breaks below the 60 RSI line and starts going towards the 50, it might be time to get out for a little while. But if you're holding long term, I mean, it looks great. I would just keep holding. If you want a long term hold Hex. What was the move on that from the bottom? It's about a 10x. Very similar to ADA, looks like to me, as far as the structure it's putting in. Not saying that the fractals are the same, just saying that it looks similar. So let's say if that was ADA's top, where did ADA go to? Yeah, on ADA's top on the daily, once it did all this chop here and went up, then it went down for a while. So it could happen to Hex. We just have to see what happens with it over the next week or two. Okay, we're gonna look at BTC now. Yeah, so this was that box I was talking about. This is kind of, if I was buying BTC, that's where I would be buying it at. This is the daily. Let's go to 3-day first. I mean, it's real clear to me. You can look at, and I'm sure it is to you too, that we're getting some kind of money flowing back in, because here's a cross on the MACD coming back up. It's doing that curl that a lot of the altcoins are doing right now. And you can see these little green areas here where money's starting to come back in. Let me bring this back in. Yeah, here's your money flow. It came down, but I suspect that it's going to bounce and come back up. You'll see money flow coming back in. There may be some more sideways. I mean, we don't know. it had such a big move that it needs more consolidation and reaccumulation. I'm not concerned about BTC. Same thing as with alts. I'm not concerned at all. We're still going up. I still believe we're in a bull market. Sometimes I think there's a little bit of a misconception out there. Sometimes when people say, oh, we're in a bear market now, when they say that, I'm almost convinced what they believe is anytime it goes down for 1 or 2 months, that we're in a bear market. That's what they believe. But in my mind, if we look at, I've talked about this before. Let me close these real quick. So we're going to look at this at a very long time frame. Where are we at? 2017. Okay. So here was the first kind of, now that we can look at it historically, this was when we first began the 4-year super cycle. And if we put a time on it, here's where it starts, here's where it ends. This was the cycle top for, I mean, this really wasn't a 4-year here, so I don't really count it because Bitcoin first started being tracked back here as far as charting goes. So we'll call this the first bear market from here to here. But the beginning of that market to here is 4 years. And people like Mike Maloney, who else calls it a 4-year? Oh yeah, Bob Lucas, he calls it a 4-year super cycle. He's the first person that I followed really when I started following cryptos. But he's really a very long-term outlook type person, so you can't really tell what's going on a short-term time frame with him. He always talks about the 4-year outlook. So here's year one, what is this? So here's January 2014 to August 2015. And that was the bear market. And then if you go from here to here, like from this point to this point, that was the other 3 years. So a total of 4 years. And then if we do the same here, what was it, 1491 days, something like that. 1477. Some people think that this market is extending a little bit, and I believe that could be the case. But that would be 1477. That would be, what is that? Yeah, December 2021. And a lot of people think that we're going to see a big dip in December. But if you're in our group, if you're in Parabolic Investments, you'll hear Tatiana talk about how it seems like we're extending to maybe the end of 2022, and that could be possible because this is basically the middle of the bull market right here from everything we've seen. So I don't think, we may have a dip in December, yeah, but we'll still be in the bull market. We're just kind of extending more. Things have changed a little bit because more institutional investors are showing up now, and the dollar's going to be going away for the most part, and they're going to be switching everything to cryptocurrencies. We don't know exactly what the main currency will be. It could be Bitcoin Cash, could be any of these. Some of the coins will go away that are useless. It's kind of like if you think about all of the stocks that were around at the time when Amazon first got started back in, what was that, the 90s, when they sold books out of stores like retail locations. Amazon was basically the one that survived out of thousands of other stocks that were in their same niche. So we'll see that with some of this as well. But I imagine a lot of those coins won't fall away until 2022. So we're still bullish on most of these coins. We're not concerned about that happening just yet. So getting back to BTC, this is just a stop on the way to higher amounts. The targets we're looking at is like 150 to 250, I think, for this bull market, maybe 300K. I mean, there's much bigger numbers that we could talk about, but that's further into 2024, 2026. We see this continuing, but there are going to be big dips like this one that will happen from time to time. And our group, our job for our members is trying to find those areas so that we take as much profit as we can and then we buy back lower. That's what we're trying to achieve. daily here, and we'll bring back RSI real quick. Where's that at? Okay. So to me, it looks like on the daily chart, maybe a little bit more sideways action, but yeah, we're definitely trending up like that. You can see we've got some bullish indications, even though we're going sideways here. This kind of shows us future price movement. You know, we got people buying here, even though it's just going sideways. 4 hour. Yeah, same thing there. You know, we may see this MACD come all the way to here and then bounce. Definitely bullish on Bitcoin. Could come down to, if you're joining late, it could come down to like 28K. And there's an outside chance it comes down to 20K, but I just really don't see that. I mean, 24K maybe. When we talk about possible versus probable, these are possible down here to happen, 24K, 20K. Probable to me is it doesn't go under 28K or 27K right in there, because it can wick. It can wick down. And then we'll look at ETH real quick. And anybody joining late, if you have a coin, I'll be happy to look at it for you. I'll show you my perspective and kind of how I work through things to see where the coin's headed. What is this, 2020? Let me bring up a better ETH chart. Whenever you're looking on TradingView, usually the best charts to look at are the ones that say calculated by TradingView. It gives the best average. Of course, this is Binance here. That may be the same chart. No, there it is. Okay. Okay, so this is a much longer time frame, but we like to start long first and then work our way down. Yeah, Ethereum does look like it could have a little bit further to go. What does the daily look like? Well, see, that's why you have to look at both, because here if we look at 3-day, we would say, yeah, for sure we're coming down to the 30 RSI area, because you know, the MACD hasn't quite curled up yet to show us that support. But I'm suspecting, now that I'm looking at this more closely and what I just saw on the daily chart, we may see like a double bottom here. It may just stop here and start going back up to the 50 line. I'm not saying it's just going to take off, but if we go down here to the daily, let's just draw some lines here, see what we see. We need a little confirmation here first, but we may be seeing something like this. Yeah, this could just be creating some kind of double bottom there. So we need more information as far as the daily goes. What do we have up here? So this was a break. We had this bearish momentum down, and then it came back through and broke through this trend line, and now it's just retesting it. So that would be my guess, is we're going to see something like that, where we may, I mean, we could even come down to those wicks right there. What would that be? Yeah, 1600 area. You always want to think in terms of areas. So you know, on your chart, if you want to do something like this and say, okay, here's my range. Let me just get rid of that. Say, okay, here's my range that it could drop into. We'll just take that bottom wick right there. So if I was buying Ethereum, I would be buying anywhere from 1800 down to 1600 or so. And I think that would be a very smart move, because you've got all of this resistance that turns support now. So here's your support. If you were to draw this line, it's kind of where it is right now, pretty close. Yeah, I mean, these lines aren't exact. There's a whole method with starting out with like a monthly chart and drawing your lines there first to get it more exact. But if it was to fail there, let's just say it did drop further, and I'm still bullish long term, just because it drops doesn't mean anything. 1400 would be your next area that you'd want to place a buy order. And then on 4 hour, what are we looking at? Yeah, it's starting to come up on 4 hour. It's already found its bottom on the RSI and it's coming up. So short term, it looks good. We'll just have to see what happens over the maybe a week or two. See what's happening with it. Okay, so I don't see. Does anybody have any other coins they want to look at? You can type it in the chat there. I'll go back to ETN real quick. I just want to show what it looks like when you do make a good play. Like I said, if you go here on our, a lot of you are in this, I'm sure already, but this is our free channel for parabolic investments. I posted this on there where we notified our members of the 50 RSI break yesterday, and they made 130% profit in 24 hours on this play. I'll be honest, we got lucky. I mean, you're never going to find the exact break like that, and anybody that tells you isn't telling you the truth. But you can still use these areas to watch for a breakout, and I'll show you what I mean on that. Let's see, that's the 6 hour. We go to the 6 hour chart. Here's the RSI. You can clearly see along this 50 line, it was having trouble getting through it, and then once it broke, it took off. I mean, I didn't expect it to do like that. I thought maybe it would just come up here and kind of go sideways a little while and then go up more. But sometimes you get these, and that's why you play them that way, because you're just hoping to get a big move. Even if you're playing it long term, you got that big move, you could take some profits. So how could we look and say, well, okay, I made the good play, where would I take my profits now? Well, this is a 6 hour chart, so it's not as reliable, but let's just say we took this one. Anytime, you can just use this as a hard and fast rule. Anytime you get between 90 and 95 RSI, always consider taking some profits. Maybe even 85 to 95 RSI. And you don't have to take all of it, just in case it keeps going up. Maybe just take 30%, 50%, whatever you want to do, leave some in there. But we can see this one. I told our members earlier this morning, I said you might want to think about taking some profits now, because we had hit this level, and even on the daily, well, daily's not really up there too high yet, it's at 75, but if you look at a 4 hour chart, you can see that it rejected once it got way up here. It got near the 90, it wasn't quite there, so 85 to 95, start thinking about taking profits on a coin. And if it keeps going, that's fine, but if it comes down, you can buy more and add to your bag. Right now, on the 4 hour, we're still holding this line, but you're getting this bearish divergence a little bit right there. And that's on a 4 hour. Well, it's not really showing up on the 3 hour, but it is here. So, if it was me, especially if it broke, if it kept coming down below this line here, I figure it's going to definitely retest this 50 RSI at some point, but it may just do something like this for a while. It may just do this and then retest, come down. So it's going to take a little while to play out. I don't know what I'd do at this point, really. I mean, if I didn't sell near the top, I would probably just hang on to it for a little while and see what it does, see if it breaks below this, and that would be fine. But, good play, whoever took that. Let's see, OMG. Yeah, we'll look at OMG, Steve. And I hope some of this is starting to make sense. The more you use something like this, these methods, you kind of just build a habit for yourself, and it almost becomes second nature. You open up a chart, you have these, really this is all you need, RSI and MACD, and to be honest, you don't even need MACD. If you're playing things long term, I've mentioned this before in the videos, this would be, well, actually, did I put that on there? Yeah, here we go. So if you look down here, anything above 50 is the bullish RSI zone, anything below it's the bearish. So you would always want to be looking for a buy down here, and up here is where you start looking to sell. But it can go much higher up here, and it can go much lower on the bottom. So like down here, it could come down further, but anything, I would say, if you were going to draw a box, something like that, if it ever gets in that range, you want to be buying. And conversely, if it gets in this range, what is that, 80? Really up here, I like, if I'm holding long term, yeah, honestly, if I'm holding long term, I'm more like this on a daily chart. 85 to 95. This would be my sell area. But a lot of times on 4 hour, you're not going to see that. You would be selling more near the top line. But like I said, I don't recommend that. That's short-term day trading, and it's easy to get in trouble with that. Okay, OMG. Yeah, I feel pretty good about OMG. I hold this as well. This is the daily chart. We've got some bullish divergence there. It's going up. Same thing here. I imagine this is going to be it kind of created a double bottom here already, but I imagine this one will be for sure a double bottom, because you have this right here. Something like that. And you got the same thing. I don't remember what coin we were looking at just a minute ago, but it basically did the same thing. It broke out of this downtrend line on the daily. And the daily chart is so good because any indicator or any signal you get on a daily chart is, you can believe it. I mean, it's not like the 4 hour chart where it can chop on you a lot. Something like this, you can have a lot of faith in because it's on a longer time frame. What else are we looking at? Yeah, whole lot of support over here. Look at all this. You know, it came up, resistance, resistance, it broke through a second, came back down, resistance, and then it broke through. So now this turns into your support. All of this that was resistance is now support. So this is a very good time to buy if you like OMG as a project. Or if you don't, it doesn't really matter. I'm the type of person, the reason I don't talk about fundamentals much is because I feel like this market is manipulated by the Fed and who knows who else. I mean, they're the ones that can print money out of nothing, and sometimes I'm not even sure if money's even being moved through these markets. I think, you know, maybe it's just digital numbers on a screen, and some of it's fake to me, but that's my own opinion. They're going to make it go up because they want to make their money. That's my little rant for the day. Okay, so 4 hour, yeah, we're looking good there. Going up. I mean, OMG could be just like Electronium. You know, we may be coming up here to the 50. It hasn't really tested it much yet. You can see here this RSI came back down and now it became resistance again. So, you know, it may bounce on it a little bit and then go up. So don't expect it to just take off, but as far as long term, yeah, it's looking great. I like it. Okay, FTM. I don't think I have that one on here, Phantom. Let me see what, another thing to look at, or you should be looking at, is to see what the consolidation time is. A lot of these should have a lot of consolidation at this point though. Yeah, 142 days. That's when I feel confident about coins going up, is they've had a long time to reaccumulate, you know, people to sell and weak hands to get out, and now strong hands are coming back in that want to see it, you know, go up 4 or 8 weeks and then, you know, play a swing trade or something. What is this daily? Yeah, it needs some time still. It's trying to curl up there, but there's a little bit of support there though. I mean, it could come down a little bit more. You know, there's some kind of random support there, right in there. Yeah, it could come down to what, 17 cents. I just wonder if it could come down any more. Let's see. Yeah, 13 to 17 would be my buy orders for something like this if I was trying to get in it, but you know, the RSI and MACD don't really tell me that it's going to go down a whole lot more. It's just kind of reaccumulation area for it, especially when you take into consideration the consolidation time. It's been going sideways a long time. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see a bounce out of this one soon. What does 4 hour look like? Yeah, it's pretty low. Okay, BTT, I think I do have that one on my list. Maybe. Yeah, I might have taken it off. Some of these I get in and out of. I don't like that one. Okay, that looks better. Oh yeah, that looks real good. Look at that double bottom. It's creating actually a triple bottom. Does it have enough history? Yeah, we're curling up. We're very low on the RSI. You can see in the past, how long is this coin been going? Oh, okay, so it doesn't have a whole lot of history, but as far as the history it does have, anytime it got near this bottom line for RSI, it bounced off of it. That's not to say it couldn't come down lower, because some coins do, but you know, MACD doesn't show that. We're going up here, it seems. So this one looks a lot like the rest of them that I'm looking at right now. Well, yeah, we've had 100 days consolidation. I'm guessing this was probably like a 10x move as well. No, it was more, 31x. Yeah. With something like this, it's had a stronger move. There's always the thought that it could consolidate further. But if you look at something like, what was it, SHIB? What did it do? That ain't the right chart for it. There was one of these, I don't remember which one it was. Maybe I'm thinking of Doge. I just want to look at something real quick. Yeah, so this was a huge move by Doge. From the bottom. 194x. So if we go back to BTT, oh, that ain't the right thing. You know, just because it's done whatever that was, what did I say? Yeah, just because it's done a 33x doesn't mean it's not going to keep going up. So, you know, we're down here right now. This is a safe buy, I would say. Could come down a little bit more, because in the past on the daily chart it has. On the 3-day chart it didn't show that, but on the daily chart it has come down quite a bit further. What is that, 18? Currently it's at 30. But you've got this going up on MACD. Did we get a break here yet? Yeah, you got a little bit of a break there. So that's something I would watch. I mean, this is a key level. Key level of support is right there. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it came back down to, what is that, 0017? Yeah. That's not much of a dip either way. So if you hold it, just keep holding it. You know, 20% is nothing. I think it'll hold there and bounce up. Yeah, I mean, it's a good buy right now for sure. Looks okay. So let's see, what else did I want to show y'all? Oh, so if anybody doesn't follow this guy, he's really good. He's I found him a couple of weeks ago. A lot of you know about Glassnode. What is he again? Let me find his bio. So he's an analyst for Glassnode. Looks like he has a podcast as well, but the main thing is he's one of their analysts, and he'll post things from time to time like this. These are I think this is, what is it, the outflow? Yeah. So here's the outflow chart. And I think he personally works on this thing. Like he posts these charts for Glassnode. So you can see when the all the smart money was selling. You know, this is the outflow, or the inflow actually. This would be inverse. So the smart money, as this went up, this is the price of Bitcoin going up and topping here, this line. The smart money would have been selling in portions as it went up. And you can see, this is what I would say is the retail traders right here at this peak. So now you've got all the retail traders have exited at this point, but they exited near the bottom actually. So smart money was selling up to the top. And you can't really see this on this chart. You'd have to look at a different chart to see what the smart money was doing. But they were selling up to this point, and then they had already made all their money, and now they're waiting to get back in at the bottom. And here's your retail traders. Now they're selling once it already did the dip, because they're thinking it's just going to crash. And it did come down a little bit more. So now what you're seeing is this is people that have started buying back in, and now the outflow of BTC to their cold storage wallets, this descending total, as it gets down into this red area here, that means you've got more and more people that have already bought BTC at the bottom, and they're moving it to their cold storage. So now you don't have people sending BTC on to the exchanges to sell. You've actually got them moving it off the exchange to hold on to it because they see it going up. And the reason why we know this is a fact is because you can look back here at these areas where it was in the red, where coin was exiting. What is this, Binance? People were actually taking it off of Binance and putting it into their cold storage. And you can see what happened with the Bitcoin price. I don't know how visible that is to you, but here's a line of Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin's price going up. Here's a dip. And you can see each time this green area represents people taking their Bitcoin and putting it back on the exchange to sell. And that's what happens when these dips happen. So here, right here, they bought, they took it off the exchange, and they just held and held and held, and here's where they started selling. This is the smart money, the whales that are starting to sell as it goes up. And that's the way the smart money works. They start seeing the indicators that it's time maybe to start getting out. So they'll ladder their sells, their sell orders, as price accumulates or goes up. And so by the time it hits the peak, most of them have sold, 70% or so of their Bitcoin. And then that spike, like I said, that's the retail that finally realized it's time to get out, but they were too late. And then now we're starting to get we're in this reaccumulation phase. People are putting their Bitcoin back into their cold wallets, and we're going to see another price movement like we saw back here. We haven't seen this red area since right here, and we saw what happened after that. It went up. I'm not saying it's just going to skyrocket, but we can see clearly that every time this happened, not too long after, a month or two, Bitcoin took off. So that's another reason why I'm bullish. I see things like this on Twitter, and I post things on my Twitter, by the way. If y'all want to follow me there, some of you already do. This is, it's actually got my YouTube and our Telegram on there as well. But you can just type in @bike4sale or type in bike for sale once you're on Twitter. And sometimes I'll retweet things like that this guy says that might help you. Here's something that Rod with our PI group, our Parabolic Investment Group, posted. He was just showing that the altcoin dominance is actually following this line right here, so we should get a pump out of alts soon. And then I'll post things like this wing chart. If any of you follow me on TradingView, you can see these posts that I make, and then you can hit the play button and see what they do after I make the call. So this one right here, wing, it actually came down. You can imagine this line continue to go down like this. It just came down and retested that line, and now it's ready to go back up. And then if you go to my profile on here, you can see, where's that at? Yeah, here's a bunch of different charts that I did that you can go back and see what they're doing. And I have little instructions on there on what you can do, where to buy it. You can see these lines where your resistance and your support is and things like that. And I think that's about it, guys. I just wanted to jump on here. I do appreciate you all joining me. It was good of you on your Saturday to hop on here and see what I had to say. Very bullish, long term. Short term, we may go sideways a little bit longer. BTC, it's about time for it to make its move. Once it crosses that 50 line on RSI, we're going to see it take off again. Could have a little dip in the short term, I don't know. Short term is just really hard to read. And so I don't really bother with that. I stick to the long term, because that's how you make money, is holding on to things. So that's that. Like I said, if you want to check me out on Twitter, there's a lot of really useful things that I post on there. Bike for sale there. We have our free Telegram that you can join. Once you go to my Twitter, just click that link and you can find that. And if y'all have any questions for me, if you're in the group, you know that you're always welcome to message me or post in the member chat. We'll always answer your questions right away. But you can always message me on Telegram as well. I'm at Bike for Sale, same thing on Telegram. So if you have any questions, you can message me there as well. So y'all have a good Saturday, and we'll see you on the next live one. Thanks.